touching on a subject that is so sensitive, and to make the assertion that it's because St. Lucia has reached a low, that a government will see to putting things in place to address the issue of period poverty. Madam President, do we know how many countries in this world are way behind us on issues like that, Madam President? Madam President, Scotland in 2021 made provisions in its period products free provision in 2021 to ensure that schools are equipped with sanitary products, Madam President. Madam President, Guyana, not too far from us, in 2021, put in place a menstrual hygiene program, and the end result or the deliverable is secondary school girls, Madam President. Madam President, England, l'Angleterre, and 2019, Madam President, a program funded by the government for secondary and college students, Madam President. Madame Président, vous voulez dire que tous ces pays, c'est mauvais bail, mauvais en ces pays, tellement qui fait gouvernement ces pays. Madame Président, l'Angleterre, Madame Président, vous voulez dire que bagay mauvais l'Angleterre tellement. Gouvernement l'Angleterre prend une décision pour assurer que ces bagay ça available by jeunes filles dans l'école. Et qu'on a fait un statement à comme quoi dit c'est mauvais bagay mauvais tellement. Madam President, again, the opposition has a right to tear open, and that's the expectation that we had on this side, that the government would really sit down and look at the policy positions being proposed by this government and argue them on the point of merit, Madam President, on the point of merit. Why not St. Lucia, Madam President? What is the concern with us implementing it here? And to make the statement that the minister wants to know how many girls are menstruating, Madam. What are we becoming as a country? Madam President, that same Minister of Education has a responsibility to receive information for the school feeding program.
Senator Police.
Madam President, again, I'm standing on a point of order. I recognize what the senator wants to say, but none of us on this side have made the statement to which the senator refers. So, Madam President, the senator was referring to us on this side of the House, and we have not made such a statement.
May I interject? I think the senator said the opposition has a right to dissect or whatever. She did not say the Senate, the opposition in the Senate. So I think she did not point to you in that regard. So please, I'll allow Senator TOUSSAINT CHARLERY to continue with her 3 minutes.
Madam President, even when I began as well, I did indicate that the statement was made by a known individual associated with the opposition. That is what my opening statement for that was. Okay? And so, Madam President, you know what I would love to see happen in this House today, Madam President? I would love to see the individuals, and I know how I felt about that statement, Madam President, and I'm pretty sure I speak for every other individual, at least those seated on this side of the House, Madam President. And what I would love to see, Madam President, is whether all of us in this House, including the members opposite, and I'm happy that the member opposite stood, Madam President, because I should have asked for your permission before now, Madam President, to allow my members to stand with me, Madam President, those who are disassociating themselves with such a degrading statement, to stand up and show their support for this initiative by the government, Madam President. The question is, would the member opposite stand, Madam President? That is the question, Madam President. That is the question, Madam President. Does she disassociate herself with it as a member of the opposition?
Stand up.
Senator Showa here. Order.
Stand.
Madam President,
Denounce it.
as I close, Madam President,
Because that's your
a lot of other initiatives, and the question is, why is it that we're not talking about...
Senators, please
The
allow...
question is, why is it that we're not... Sorry, Madam
Senator.
President, sorry.
Let's have some order. You have your last minute to please wrap up. Please allow the senator to finish her presentation.